Welcome to Swiss Link TV, and we're at episode 9, and I'm really excited to have an awesome guest today, Jack Stockton. Welcome to the Swiss Link TV show. We're so excited to have you here.
I am overwhelmed to be here.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Too.
You know, folks, I met Jack. Gosh, Miles was maybe, 9 years old, 8 years old. So we're talking a long time ago when he was training kids to go to Hollywood and get acting jobs.
Yeah, we had a development center in Northern California that gave kids skills, public speaking, self-confidence, and then on-camera technical skills.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you first, and I took Miles to your class. And you got us some auditions in Hollywood, and I remember driving back and forth to Hollywood, and he got some pretty interesting offers, but they wanted us to live there in Los Angeles.
You know, especially with your family, you guys are so supportive, and I was so honored to be able to meet you because, again, I really love creators, inventors, and then artists. And when I knew that you were a musician, that opened up a whole nother can to invite you to be on our show. At that time, we were on Fox Network.
Yeah. Tell us about what you do there. What about your shows?
Well,
I remember performing at your show.
Yeah, and it was really special because I wanted a platform to celebrate people. I wanted to celebrate people. So we've had Mark Kloss on the show celebrating what he's doing for child safeties. We've had celebrity guests and all that fun stuff. But at the end of every episode, I wanted to kind of bring back a little bit of American Bandstand style where I ended every show with a musical guest.
Yeah.
And I remember booking you a few times on that show because I just couldn't get enough of it,
But awesome.
The Fox Studios had an actual set where we could bring in a live studio audience.
Yeah.
We had multi-cameras, a really great set there. And we ran for 3 seasons on the Fox studio there. And I owned the show outright. So I got to produce it kind of like Oprah at Harpo Studios in Chicago.
Right. Nice.
And then I negotiate airtime with whatever network it was. But your music just captivated me. I loved your energy. I loved your...
so much fun. It was so much fun. It's exciting to do something that's not your everyday. We have shows and gigs and concerts, but to end up in a studio and the challenges of a studio and the this and that, it was awesome.
It was really, really special. I'll never forget the first day where I went to Fox to pitch my idea. Now, keep in mind, this is 4 years of knocking on doors and being told, go away. Yeah. Finally, they knew I wasn't going away.
Oh, very
so
good.
They said, all right, we're going to meet with you. So I went in and I met with about 3 executive suits. And they looked at me at a table similar to this and they said, all right, Jack, what do you want from us? And I said, nothing. I just want you to sit and watch. Because what I did, Maurice, is I brought in my own team, my own cameras, my own equipment to the Fox Studios.
Oh.
And I had the executives just sit in 3 chairs. And I said, just watch. And I brought in my team and we ran a 30-minute live show.
Ah. Wow.
And I said, I don't need nothing from you. I just need your airtime. I'll hand you a check. You let me produce. And he says, we'll start shooting your show on Thursday.
That's awesome.
It was that
great.
It was that brilliant and neat.
Maybe I should hire Jack as a salesperson.
I'll do it. I'll do it in a heartbeat because I wanted to, no. The reason why I accepted the invitation to be on your podcast this morning is because I wanted your viewers and everybody else to realize that you're not the type of person to stand on a mountain and celebrate yourself, Maurice. And people need to be recognized. And I recognized you years ago and no more than I could recognize you today. I'm not inspired by too many people, but you inspire me. You're family man, your heart, your just your vibe. You're just such a classy man. And, growing up, I didn't have a lot of that in my personal life. So in my professional life, I would cling to those I wanted to be like. And I would always, and so compliments to you and your family.
Appreciate that very much. We were so glad to meet you, and your infectious energy is just so fun, so entertaining, and I just love talking to you anytime. So we need to make that more often.
We will. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got years in between anymore.
Yeah, and we've got a lot going on. COVID locked us all down for a long time, and I lost 2 companies, one in Arizona, one here. We lost $160,000 in less than 24 months. My daughter opened up her own and closed within the same month, a $10,000 loss in that first month. So it was a tough 2 years. So coming out of that and rebuilding the show, rebuilding our guests and our audience has been a challenge, but we did it and we did it well.
That's awesome. So you need to tell our audience where we can tune in.
thejackshow.com is where you can see any episodes that have ever aired, whether it was Fox, ABC, and we do air our show on network. So you can go to thejackshow.com, see what shows are planned to run on network, and then you can also see those links to see past shows that we've done. Your shows are on there as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
is it thejackshow.com?
Thejackshow.com.
Okay, good. We'll maybe later put a little thing on there too, a little banner so we can
absolutely
make sure everybody can find it.
Absolutely. And when I run a live show, we're in and out in 30 minutes.
Okay.
So I've got a timer counting us down. We go to commercial, we come back, and a lot of times, Maurice, we don't have time to let our hair down and talk a little bit more in that segment. So what I did this year, and everybody can look forward to it, is we created the podcast called The Characterist. So it's offered on Spotify. It'll be available on YouTube, Apple, and wherever you guys listen or watch your podcasts, and it's video podcast. But what this does, Maurice, is when I sat down with Ziggy Marley to talk about his dad in this documentary, I had a specific amount of time with him. But then the podcast allows us to talk about the show that was just taped in depth.
Very good.
And the characters of the guests and different things. I think character overall needs to be talked about more in all facets, the four corners of entertainment. Character, aside of financial backing, color, race, creed, political views, all of that stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And so the Characterist really breaks down, the values and choices that turn into actions that build your character.
And I believe that living by example is still huge. People can see an example of a person and inspire them on how they'd rather be maybe than what they're doing right now. It takes that still. Living by a mentor, example. So for people to see something and go, okay, I want to know more, and then to get that is great. It makes a big influence, I think.
It really does. And no matter how hard you try, whether it's the listeners or the watchers hear you or me, to inspire others and to be a role model and things. And I really wanted to use my platform for some of these big celebrity brands that maybe have fallen off their track just a little bit, but they're on their comeback way. And for example, was Aaron Carter.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if you know too much about what happened to Aaron Carter,
no, I don't.
But he passed away in his bathtub from a basic drug overdose drowning. Well, I had just interviewed him. I was one of the last ones to interview him at his Lancaster house with his new baby. And I put together the show because I really wanted to try and inspire somebody who sold 40 million records. He's best friends with Michael Jackson, his brothers in boy bands. He's very, very successful, but going down the wrong road. So what I wanted to try and do was, he was coming out with a new album. I went down, filmed it at his house, The Jack Show, and it was his comeback show.
Oh.
And I'll never forget that the people surrounding him were not the best influences. And the record label knows that. Like me and Morgan Matthews of Addictive Entertainment Group, we went back and forth, because I told him, I said, if you want to know why your life is going downhill, show me your friends.
Right.
And it was hard for them to hear that from me, but I was honest with them. I said, look, as a brand, I wanted to do something healthy. Walking into that situation of the show, we have to protect ourselves as a show. So if things got too wild within the taping, I had a call word, which if I said it, my crew knew that was wrap time without letting the actual talent know. But I was so upset because I seen this kid having a very, very hard time. And I knew I've never drank alcohol a day in my life, and I have a contempt for drugs that I can't even explain. And I know that that's part of my success, is making sure that I'm not around that kind of lifestyle. And the record label and I went head to head. I let them know that I felt they were responsible for his atmosphere. I wound up suing the label for wasting my time. About 3 months later, the owner of the record company called me crying. He had never felt so bad in his entire life. He understood exactly what I meant. What my intention was to surround anybody that you're working with a healthy, be a healthy force around this person. And the record labels girlfriend wound up dying in his arms from a drug overdose. And he realized just how important it was, the message I was trying to say, which is, I don't care if you're Aaron Carter with 40 million. I don't care if you're Matthew Perry, who's going to drown in your jacuzzi from too much ketamine. This is an epidemic, and it starts with your surroundings and the people around you. And it could be your family, it could be close friends, but that's just one example of how the Jack Show's brand is so healthy that we will run over even an A+ celebrity that's making bad choices. We're going to point it out. We're going to show you at home why that wound up being such a detriment to Aaron Carter, and he's no longer with us.
Yeah, you can't be more blunt about it. Then it needs to be, people need to understand, especially with the epidemics going on with fentanyl and all this kind of stuff that's going on right now.
Yes.
A friend of mine just lost his daughter to an overdose, and it's just a...
Was that local?
Yeah. Red Bluff. Yeah. It's just a sad thing. So, the message always has to be positive, mentorship, be nice to people, be nice. You can make changes, I believe, in your immediate circle. And that's, people forget that sometimes. Oh, how could I change the world? It's impossible. No, just
Start with yourself first. Start with yourself first. And if you can learn how to manufacture your own enthusiasm, you've got it.
Yeah.
And of course, God is number one to me. And I pray before I do anything, any interviews, any projects, I always pray about it. And, I don't impress my religion on anybody. I want them to find whatever it is that they connect with. I remember my daughter came to me and she says, Dad, she says, spirits all over the world are waking up. We've been asleep for thousands of years. She says, the positive Omni is coming back. And I watched her float around the house all summer like a little fairy, just all brilliant and positive and happy.
Nice.
And that's how she clung on to that. But Maurice, what I have found, and I'm so glad that I have this platform, because I'm very, very strong in messaging. And I was talking to you earlier before we started taping, but I'll let the viewers know that we have a show coming out about a woman who was hitchhiking back in the late 70s, and she was kidnapped by a couple. And the husband put a box on her head and chained her up and took her home. The couple put her in a coffin under their bed as a sex slave. She was made to sign contracts. She was brainwashed. It was one of the most horrific situations. And I remember going into the show taping that day, and I prayed about it, and I said, God, I don't know if I can handle this. I'm a little skinny white guy with a lot of energy, but this is a big, big deal. And I want to make sure that I do this with you in mind so I can navigate and captain this show, keeping my guest at the forefront, making sure that she's comfortable and how I direct it, making sure that my audience is, and making sure that I can handle it.
Well, that's
and I did. And hearing over an hour and a half the details of her story was just not only heartbreaking, but it woke me up to the fact that kids today with Snapchats and all these social medias, they can hook up with a guy just like that. You don't have to hitchhike anymore. You just hook up off of a app. So I thought it was perfect timing for everybody to watch this, to know that your child could meet somebody and this could happen. Then I had Amanda Faith from Reading, 13-year-old boy, ordered a pill off of Snapchat. Wound up being laced with fentanyl. He died the next morning.
Oh my gosh.
Well, after I did a series of 10 shows with some of these really heavy topics that I think every family should hear about, because you're going to learn something to keep yourself safe or maybe avoid, it was God. There was, the woman who was kidnapped, she said that they stopped right before he chained her up, and she heard God speak to her. And she said, God in my head said, you need to leave this bathroom, you need to run. And she ignored him. And she said she heard it again, and then again, and she ignored him. 30 minutes later, he chained her up, and her life for 7 years was destroyed. Amanda Faith. All these people that I talk to, they always say that God had done, said, or felt something, and they ignored it. And so after all of these shows, I thought, you know what? If there's one thing that I could tell my audience and my viewers is, if you have something inside of you telling you to run, telling you not to, telling you, please listen.
Yeah, intuition is
strong.
And the source of intuition can be from God. It can be from past experience, from people that love you, from people that want to protect you,
Yes.
even if they're not there.
Huge.
Intuitions are very important.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. So I felt really special that not only can I sit down with Ziggy Marley to talk about the One Love, but I can also dive deep into issues that are facing, you know, every American, whether you are in a rural town up north or if you are one of the biggest celebrities selling out records like crazy. Our human experience is something that we should share together. And if you have a lesson that you can teach me, I'm open to learn it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping that all of your viewers and my viewers and everybody watching understands. We all need something. It could be different for everybody.
Sure.
But out of all of these issues and topics, you might find something that will help you.
It's, Jack, that is a great message. And I hope people take that to heart. Because you can also, once you take something like that in, you can also spread it to the next person.
Absolutely.
And find the joy of making people happy.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing about entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a great thing about, you know, I get happiness of, you know, on the show, what we do, sometimes we show some of our items. And I get happiness of spreading our items out with people, like I do with my music almost, because we have very unusual and high quality weird things that are kind of fun. And so for example, this thing.
No, that's what I wanted to ask you about. What the heck is this?
Does this look like the Yellow Brick Road something?
Yes.
You know, we have a lot of military surplus that we get from all over the world, and I travel to Europe 4 times a year. Well, during COVID, it wasn't the same. I traveled to the Zoom computer in my house.
That's right.
But I did a lot of travels and to find just unusual and cool things. And this was in a Czech Army warehouse, sitting in a bin, a bunch of them. And I go, that just looks too cool. I know it's just a diffuser or a sprayer, you know. Maybe the soldiers had to spray each other's heads for the lice or something. I'm not sure what they used it for, or if it was for pest control, or if it was for. But it just looks so 30-ish, you know, Yellow Brick Road-ish.
Yeah.
I couldn't. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff you can find at Swisslink.com. Weird, strange, high quality, and different. So Swisslink.com, you can find this. What was it? The lion that would have that looked like? No, it was the Tin Man, right? That kind of, I don't know. It somehow reminds me.
Yeah. So Swiss Link, you know, I remember when I first met you, you were talking about your armor surplus and how excited you were about finding all these golden gems
so much fun.
Different things like that. But you've been through a lot.
Oh,
you know, you were located up in Paradise that had burnt down and everybody lost a lot of stuff. What was it in you that made you just say, I'm going to keep going with?
You know who was? Miles. Because, to tell you the truth, you know, I was already in my 60s when this happened, or just about to be in my 60s. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know. Because, you know, everything, not just my business, but all the collection of things that I had, my studio equipment, my guitars, my house, you know, everything was gone in one instance. Literally, we just had our underwear on and our pants. That's all we had to get out.
That's right.
And it's like, can I really? Gosh, I got to rebuild all that somehow now. I really have to have the energy to start this business from fresh, because our business is what you have, and it's not something that you can just grab out of the air. I'd have to go to Europe again, try to find everything from beginning again, and all this. And I was about to say, you know what, I'm going to retire. I think. Just play music and forget about it. But I had 14 employees that needed to work, that I didn't take off the payroll during the fire, after the fire, when we had nothing to sell, I had no warehouse. I dipped into my savings and I said, I'm going to keep the payroll going. I asked everybody to come to my house, rental house that we had in Los Molinos, every day just to check in, just to have some normalcy. I bought one laptop and gave everybody some phones and said, listen, let's just call all our customers and tell them what happened, Anyway, but I didn't know if I was going to really rebuild it. And then Miles, who was in the graphic business, he's the artist and he does graphic arts, and he came to me one morning and said, listen, Dad, I'll do it with you. We can do it. And that just
Wasn't that a neat moment? Wasn't that a neat moment?
Oh man. And that's what got me going again. We started everything up slowly but surely. He designed this whole building. He drew,
Get out of town.
Yeah, this was just
stairs are gorgeous, by the way. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah,
walking up the stairs, I felt like I was in LA.
Miles designed all of that.
It's hot.
This whole building, and so we started, and it's all doing really. I think due to my experience of the business, but his bringing us into the 21st century with all the equipment and the marketing. He's done an incredible job. So I can't take any.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I really can't take any thing for it. He's really the guy that.
And I really love that moment that Miles did that. I had mentioned to you after COVID, and I'm striving to try and get my platform going. I'd lost everything too, and then and coming back in, and then my best friend passed away, my ex-wife and the mother of my child, and I lost my enthusiasm for the first time in 25 years.
That's hard.
I was driving into my television studio and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore.
Isn't that weird?
I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it scared me because here I am almost, in my late 40s and I've had enthusiasm for this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was driving into my studio and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't have the desire. And it scared me. And then I felt her presence in the truck. And I felt her say, what are you doing? I might not be here, but our whole 20 years of raising our daughter, our whole life we got so much energy. We traveled the world because of what you did. Our whole lives begun and we're filled up because of what you created. Right. Please keep going. And Maurice, as God is my witness, within that drive, I grew 2 inches. And all that energy came back like I'd had for 20 years.
That's awesome.
And it was like that moment that Miles said, Dad, we can do this. And
that fleeting moment of when you think you're going to give up is short, but so scary, isn't it?
Oh, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it was
scary.
Heartbreaking. It was like breaking up with yourself. It was, and I didn't want to. And literally I wanted the enthusiasm. It just wasn't there.
Right.
And I was able to, really feel my best friend's energy and her reiterating with me that it was bigger than just her. It was bigger than just, I needed to continue to do it because
That's awesome.
we changed and helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
for sure. That's so great to hear.
And for you too, I'm so glad that Miles is
I wish he was here with us today. He's downstairs. We're switching to a whole new system, everything.
Yes.
Web pages, accounting system, sales system, the whole thing. He's been working on it for a year now. Today's the actual switch day, so it's like high pressure down there.
I bet. So now the websites, because when I do my show, I'd love to mention, and it's
Swisslink.com.
Swisslink.com. Okay, so they can find products.
Yeah, all these products like this. Is this? Let me see. Is this the German one, mess kit, or is that the Austrian one? Polish. Thank you. There's somebody around here that knows what's going on. That's good to know. But these mess kits, the typical Army mess kits, are kind of cool. You have your cup.
Oh, yeah.
And you have your thing to boil water and cook your soup in or whatever you want to cook. And then you can use this as a plate, use this for drinking. Yeah. It's just one of those. They haven't changed much for every country. That's why I kind of don't even know if it's German or Austrian because they all use the same method.
Right.
It folds in together. It works really good. You can transport it easy.
So there are so many people that, whether they were, left old garage from their grandfather or they come across different things like this here. Yeah. Can they call you and run it by you what it is?
Absolutely. We've had so many people over the years, what do you think I have here? And for me, it's fun because I think I know every item, from whenever, because I've been doing this for so long and I just put this on the wrong way. But, they can definitely talk to us about it. And then we go all the way into modern equipment like this backpack right here. This is a medic pack. This is full of medical equipment. It's a big trauma bag. So basically you could put somebody back together with this. This is a real medical kit. It has the sutures, all the bandages, and stitch somebody up.
And this is something that can be ordered with you guys?
Yeah, we have it too. Swisslink.com. You can find these. And they come in a couple different colors. And there's an amazing amount of medical equipment in here. So we have them from this big with everything. This is something a guy would take in the field. all the way down to smaller kits that you can have in your house or in your car or something like that. You can find all that at swisslink.com too.
Yeah.
And I can't emphasize this enough that you really need to check out the jackshow.com.
Yes.
And then follow from there. They can probably find everything you do, right?
Absolutely.
So, and then also the Characterist.
Yes.
And are you going to do, that's your podcast, right?
Right.
After the show, where you still keep some of the characters with you.
Yeah,
and talk in more in depth.
Absolutely. And then we'll take questions from the viewers that they have. We'll try and answer those. It is a ton of fun. It's a lot. The Characterist allows us to do a little bit more than I can do on the network taping.
Right.
Let the hair down just a little bit.
Exactly.
Still keep it really PG and really clean and cool. And the podcast that my viewers can go to find you, it's available on Apple, Spotify, all of those.
Yeah, it's all on there. We call it Swiss. What do we call it, Jake? Swiss Link TV.
Okay.
So it's on YouTube.
Okay.
All the episodes are on YouTube, and then you can go from there, and you'll find all of our.
Now, do you ever cover sports?
We haven't yet. That might be the next thing we have to do.
Well, you have to, because we got the Chiefs and the Niners coming out next weekend.
Tell me about it. I'm so excited.
Boy. Did you watch the game last week?
I did. Was that amazing?
Both of them were just...
I was like, okay, this is it. Oh my gosh, we're losing to the, seriously? It's like, I have a little bit of a history with football. I didn't know anything about it when I came in from Germany. I didn't know much about football, but then I meet this guy who was on the board of directors for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, wow.
And he invited me to the owner's box of the Green Bay Packers games numerous times.
Oh, wow.
So I spent a lot of time at the Green Bay Packers
Now,
stadium.
is this before or after Aaron was...
This was while Aaron was there.
Okay.
I was there when Aaron first started.
Okay.
And I remember my friend being pretty upset about losing his buddy, the one before Aaron. My gosh, the name just escaped me.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
The famous one that went to Minnesota. Anyway, so I got into football more than I ever thought I would, and now I catch myself watching the game and screaming at the TV. I mean, I was so excited on Sunday. I couldn't hardly contain myself.
Oh yeah, I went all out.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And Paradise has spawned some really great athletes, and Nate Smith.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nate Smith.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And Big Mo and the Full Moon Band.
Yeah,
Can't not mention those guys. But I think this is the year, Maurice. I think this is the year that I want to be in as many homes. I want to answer as many questions. I really want to tackle topics, and I want to have fun in the process doing it.
Awesome.
So the end goal, and just before we end this, is Chico's facility of the Jack Show, Four Corners Entertainment Productions, is going to be getting a warehouse similar to this here.
Nice.
And we're going to actually have a live studio audience that we own it ourselves. And then we're going to be flying our celebrity guests from Hollywood, New York to Chico.
Awesome.
And we're going to be turning Chico into a mini Chicago, where we will actually produce like Oprah did in Chicago. And I'll be producing here out of Chico.
Folks, that's exciting. You
Look
need to support
forward.
Jack. This is something that's happening right here in Chico. Very exciting. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you,
good to
too.
see
I'm
you.
so impressed. Thank you for reaching out.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in for episode 9. And next week, we're going to have Eamon Cowell on trumpet as our musical guest. And see you on episode 10.
I love it. I'll be tuning in.
Awesome.
Thank you.